Today, we're going to make a homemade camera that takes instant photos, meaning the picture comes out right away and it doesn't use any electronics at all. Yes, my friends, life exists without electronics, and I'm going to prove it to you. But first, let's understand how a real camera actually works. But Ibare, you've explained this 1,000 times. I know how to take apart and rebuild a camera from scratch because you've gone over it so often. Hold on, because today, to really understand how a camera works, we're going to build a primitive one that you could even make at home. Basically, you'll need a cardboard box, a piece of cardstock or construction paper, a magnifying glass from a stationery shop, and tracing paper. What's the name again? Tracing paper. See how easy this is? At the back of the box, I cut out a rectangle and tape a piece of tracing paper over it. Then I remove the magnifying glass lens and mark its outline on the opposite side of the box. I cut along that outline with a utility knife. Now I just need to make a tube, place the lens inside, and fit it into the hole in the front of the box. To finish it off, I glue on a little cover here. Hard to believe, but I just built a camera. Come take a look. Can you see an image forming on the tracing paper? When I adjust the focus by moving the lens forward or backward, look, the image appears perfectly on the tracing paper. The leaf up front is sharp, while the house in the background is blurry. Pretty cool, right? But you might have noticed something. The image projected on the back is upside down. So what's the deal with this little movie theater we're seeing here? Here's my little box, and here's me. If you imagine the ray of light leaving my head, it passes through the lens and gets projected down here. Meanwhile, the ray of light coming from my foot passes through the lens and gets projected up here. And that's why the final image you see ends up upside down. But what I find coolest about all this is that in this little homemade camera, the tracing paper at the back works the same way as our eye. The eye has a front lens called the crystalline lens and a projection screen in the back called the retina. That's where the cells are, just like sensors, that send information to the brain through the optic nerve. But then you might ask, wait, I don't see anything upside down. How can that be? Well, you actually do, but your brain flips the image and doesn't let you notice. If I didn't know this fact, I'd pause the video right now just to hit the like button. But there's more. This old camera works in exactly the same way. The lens at the front is called the objective lens. And in the back, instead of tracing paper, they used film. It was a plastic coated with chemicals that reacted when light hit it, recording the image. It's as if the light burned the surface of the plastic. And then, in more modern cameras, instead of tracing paper, we now have this. An optical sensor, an electronic device that captures incoming light and stores it. So, in the end, this quirky camera I built, our eyes, the old film cameras, and modern digital ones all work on the same principle. And the word camera literally means a closed chamber, basically just a dark room. Because no light can enter it, except at the exact moment you take the picture. Otherwise, the chemical reaction would hit the film too soon and ruin everything. Alright, now you've got the theory. Let me show you where my crazy idea began. If we can build this kind of camera that projects images onto the back, couldn't we turn it into a real one? Adding a sensor like modern cameras would be too complex and fragile. And using film, like the old ones, is tricky too, because it gets ruined so easily. Even the tiniest bit of light spoils it. That's when we remembered this type of camera, which is different from all the others. This camera doesn't use a sensor or film in the back. It uses photographic paper. This paper also has light-sensitive chemicals that can record an image. But here's the big difference. It has a tiny pouch underneath that bursts when the paper comes out, releasing a liquid. That liquid develops the picture, triggering a second reaction that makes the image appear in color. And you can see the photo right after you take it. That's the true magic of this little wonder. So why not take the paper from this camera and use it instead of tracing paper? Good idea, but focus becomes a serious problem. If I remove the tracing paper and replace it with photographic paper, I won't be able to see the projection anymore. And that means I can't adjust the focus. Every photo would come out blurry. I could mark a scale. Focus here for 1 meter, here for 2 meters, and here for 3. It's not a great solution, but there are cameras that work like this. Check this one out. You also load it with paper. When it's time to take a picture, you look through this little hole. The issue is that the light comes in through another hole with another lens. And at the end of that lens, there's a kind of ruler. That ruler shows you the distance to the subject you're photographing, starting at 1 meter and going up. I figured setting up a ruler like that would be tough on such a crude camera. But there's one way to keep everything in focus. Just get rid of the lens. Exactly. There's a type of camera called a pinhole camera, literally needle hole. Instead of using a lens, you make a very tiny hole, and the light passes through there. Because the hole is so small, the light travels straight and organized, so everything on the back projects in focus. I'll try it here to show you. I'll cover the front opening with a piece of aluminum foil. This is great because you can make the hole just the right size, and it looks neat. That's what people usually use. Now, a lot less light gets in, so it might be harder to see. Let's head outside again. It's tricky. You can't see much here. Let's try in the dark. Out here, with the sun setting a little after 5, you can't see anything. Let's try under strong studio lights. And with this test, you can see why cameras have big lenses at the front, right? Because with a pinhole, only a tiny bit of light enters. Still, there's a way to work around that. In a camera like this, the time light hits the film is very short. It's usually about 1/8 of a second. Look inside the camera. You can barely even see the light coming in. It's so quick. It's super fast. What if we changed that? And instead of 1/8 of a second, let the light in for, 30 seconds. Multiplying by 8, that would be 240 times longer. Wouldn't that be enough light to expose the film or paper? Yes, that's exactly what people do. When they build cameras like this, they use regular photographic paper inside. And by regular, I don't mean the paper from this camera. It's the same paper used to develop photos. We've already done this on Manuel del Mundo with a can. And in that case, you leave the hole open for about 30 seconds to let enough light in. That way, enough light burns the paper, or marks the paper with the image. Before we even started recording this video, we ran a test just like that. We built a similar camera, carefully loaded the paper from this camera in the dark, and closed it up. And here are the photos we got. There were several layers of problems. First, we didn't know if we had handled the paper incorrectly. Maybe light leaked in too early, or maybe not enough light got in, or we left it open too long, or maybe the hole wasn't right. But one thing stood out. If you look closely at the last photo, you can clearly see the edge of the Manuel del Mundo pool. A plant in the background, the whole studio, even our workshop back there, it all showed up in the picture. The issue is that it came out in stripes. Some lines appeared, others didn't. And that's because of the developing process. The liquid from the little pouch in the back didn't spread evenly over the paper when it burst open. We looked it up and found this problem is nearly impossible to fix. This camera has 2 rollers that work really well. To press the pouch correctly, pop it, release the liquid, and spread it evenly across the paper. But wait, we didn't give up. In our research, we found someone who actually solved this problem using 3-dimensional printing. That's right, this guy designed and built a camera from scratch, and it works exactly as I described. There's a small pinhole at the front, and instead of loading just paper, you insert the whole cartridge. After taking the picture, you turn a little knob that runs the photo through a kind of squeezer. That spreads the developing liquid and makes the photo appear instantly. Whether this works or not, we're about to find out. Now, I just need to follow the instructions, like building a Lego set. The cool thing is that the person who invented it wrote a really complete manual explaining how everything should be done. Three-dimensional printing isn't that easy to put together, because sometimes a hole ends up tighter than you'd like. Then the other piece doesn't fit, so you need to sand it a bit. But I think everything is working out. In the end, we'll have this. Look at this crazy camera. It's hard to believe this thing can actually take pictures, and honestly, I still don't believe it. This machine has two modules. The first is a darkroom camera, pretty much like the one we built earlier. It's an enclosed space where we'll take the picture, where the light will chemically mark the paper. The problem is that too much light is leaking in here. If I open this part in the back and hold it up to the light, you can see leaks everywhere. Come take a look. This shouldn't look yellow and bright. It should be completely dark. I haven't even made the tiny pinhole at the front yet, but this would already ruin the photo. This has to be black, completely sealed. So let's start here and block it as best as we can. The idea is to paint everything black on the inside with a really thick coat of paint. That way, the light won't pass through and will reflect much less once it gets in. It's not an easy task because this plastic is super transparent. I covered it well with masking tape to keep the colorful look of the camera. But Ibare, wouldn't it be simpler to just use black filament in the printing so you wouldn't need to paint it? What did I just say about keeping the nice colorful look? Anyway, let's put black tape where I think light is leaking in. Looking at our reflector now, I don't see any more light coming in. It turned out great and is basically ready. So what's the logic behind this camera? The light comes in through this tiny hole I made in the aluminum foil and projects an image onto the back of the box. Exactly like we saw before. But at the back, instead of tracing paper, we'll have photographic paper. A cartridge with photographic paper. At that point, a chemical reaction happens, and the paper is marked by the light. Then I pull this little lever. Wow, now that I've taped everything, oh my god. As I said, after taking the picture, push the lever up. That sends the photographic paper into this other module. Here the paper passes between two aluminum rollers. I turn the side crank and the paper gets squeezed in the middle. Since the paper has a little pouch full of chemicals, they spread across the top of the paper. In theory, it comes out developed on the other side. Here's the pouch. It goes through, bursts, spreads across the top. And the photo comes out on the other side. And why does it have all this contraption here? First, I found out that these two gears are just to transmit the movement from those white gears we saw during assembly. You can see the gears here, the white ones. The aluminum shafts are attached to them. And inside, there's a spring system that presses these two aluminum pieces against each other. These two small springs are designed to make sure the developer liquid spreads evenly on the paper. Now comes the critical moment when things could go wrong. This little cartridge costs 60 Rs for just 10 photos. It's the one made for this camera. Once we open it, there's a risk things could go wrong. The photographic paper stays inside. Now I open it and place the cartridge in here. Wow, it fit perfectly. Look at that. Theoretically, I just close it. If I could close it, that would be great. It fit like a glove, but a glove missing a finger. This top cap just won't fit at all. If it doesn't go the easy way, it'll go the hard way. Let's carve a notch here so it fits properly. Now I insert the little spring in the back. It's going to push exactly where it says not to put your finger, because that's what ensures the paper passes in front of the camera. Camera loaded. Let's put the top part on. It's a camera that takes a bit more effort to get working. It's ready, the little thing. Assembled and set up. Well, not quite set up yet. It'll only be ready once I remove the protection in front of the cartridge. When I lift this here, theoretically, the protection comes off, and now it'll be pulled out from the top. Oops, it didn't come off. It was supposed to release here. Since it didn't, I can't open it any further. Because now the film is exposed inside. The paper is exposed. Whoa, man. Oops. It's coming out, coming out, coming out, coming out. Nope, it didn't, but it wants to. Oh, my holy surgical tool. Why are you here? Now that's it. It's ready to take a picture. Let's try. The photographic paper should be inside, but no light is getting in. Where is it? I forgot to put the lid on. We lost the first photo. Light leaked in and messed everything up. Let's see if we can pull out the first sheet. Ah, this one came out just fine. But I think the little pouch here didn't burst. That's a bad sign, because if the pouch with the developing chemical doesn't burst, the photo comes out undeveloped, right? You'd need a stronger spring to press one roller against the other. I'll still try to take a picture here, even though the roller isn't working properly, okay? I removed the front cover and let the light in for 30 seconds, which I should have counted. So far, it's been about 5 seconds, 6, 7. Now I know there are only 20 left. All right, that's it. In theory, the reaction already happened. I pull it up here. Come on, photo, come on. It's coming. Doesn't look like it developed properly though. Nope, it didn't develop or come out, see? Another ruined photo for the collection? Now what should I try? Open this in the dark to avoid burning the paper, then wrap it in aluminum foil to block light. Then I fix the camera and return to the dark again. I reload the paper, so it should work now. I'm wrapping the paper inside the aluminum foil. There's a light that I think is from my microphone shining on something, but in theory, it's working. If you close it with a hammer, you'll have to open it with pliers. But the plastic can't take that, right? Oh man, I broke 2 parts here that I'll need to print again. It's these little springs that might not be tight enough. I think we printed several of them. I'm going to try reinforcing the spring that pushes one cylinder against the other when it's time to burst the chemical pouch. I'm using foam that came in a light box. The idea is to put it inside the spring. It got much stiffer. This little spring breaks very easily. I tested it and it snapped. To me, this spring is the big flaw in the project. It's extremely fragile. Look closely. As soon as you put pressure on it, it pops loose and breaks right away. All these pieces. As you can see on the table, we've already broken several. Even worse, if you force it, it immediately weakens. It loses elasticity. I'll try replacing this spring with foam. The foam here feels much sturdier, but I'll also have to replace the parts I broke, right? I broke 2 parts when I was opening it. Now look, it's really pulling the photo through. First, let's cover the front really well. Perfect. No light is leaking in. Let's load the cartridge here. In the dark, aluminum foil here, photo output here, camera here. I fitted it in and locked it. Now I just need to screw the top shut. Ah, there we go. It's closed. Did I mess something up? Let's close the box. Done. Now I need to place something on top here. I think that's it. You can turn it on. If everything worked, I didn't ruin the film. We'll only know once we take a picture. The first one might not turn out, but let's try 30 seconds. I upgraded this cap. It's now black with aluminum foil inside for a better seal. The trick is not letting light in where it shouldn't, or it'll expose the paper incorrectly. At this point, you also can't shake the camera because light is coming in and triggering the chemical reactions. So let's wait a bit. This is it. Butterflies in my stomach. I pull this up. Looks like nothing showed. Again. It's coming out. It's coming out. It's coming out. Coming out. Little photo fresh from the oven. Oh my god. Look, it came out completely black. That's actually a good sign. It means the liquid spread. See the difference from the other one. Now we just need to wait. If everything turns white, the photo was overexposed. If anything shows up, then we actually took the picture. Looks like the photo was overexposed, right? Well, half of it worked, right? The liquid burst correctly, but the image didn't capture. Nothing appeared on the photo. That was in the script. It would have been better if it hadn't burst, but let's try a second photo. This time, I'll leave it for 20 seconds. I don't think the time was the issue, but still. Look, I pull it up, push it down, pull it back up. The photo should be up here and start coming out through here. Look, but nothing. So I'll try again. Give it a little push. Still nothing. Let me try once more. No, nothing. I think this mechanism here is messing up. Now it worked. The photo is coming out. Once again, almost perfect development, just at the very end. By now, something should be visible. Here you can see the studio shelves in the background. Look, some little squares. This was the first photo. This one came out a bit darker. Maybe too much light is leaking in. Let's try taking another photo with much less exposure time. Maybe the pinhole, the tiny needle hole, is too large. Let's test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the struggle begins, right? Hey, it worked. Perfect development. Now we just wait to see if it looks better. The photo is completely white, which means it was overexposed by too much light. I think light is leaking into the camera and ruining the picture. I'm going to take one without exposing it. Just pull the paper. Theoretically, it should come out black with nothing on it. The development worked, but here's a bad sign. It's coming out white. I didn't want to do this, but I don't think I have another choice. I'll try covering every little hole where light could be leaking in. I think the cartridge protects the papers in the back. It shields the ones behind. So I don't think I lost them all. The one in the front is gone, but the back ones should be safe. Let's check. I'll take one here just to use it up since it was the front photo. Now, let's try again, because theoretically, the next sheet is still protected. I'll count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Ah! Wow! Look at our panel here. How nice! My verdict on this little camera: it was really fun to build. I think it meets the challenge from the start of the video. The goal was to create a camera with no batteries or electronics that developed photos instantly. But I wouldn't do it again. Not even if pigs flew. Just bought a 3D printer and want to make something cool? Man, go print a rocket nose cone. Go make a miniature Titanic. But this thing here, 3 problems. Hard to seal and keep light out. I found that frustrating. Then, all the little springs break. We had to improvise. And the side lever is awful. It stopped working at one point. We tried another film to shoot more pictures, but it jammed. I think the film inside is already ruined. I don't think it's worth it. Oops.